Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show, The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. And we're all here together.
My name is Christian Basil. Years ago, I had an idea. I got myself a TARDIS. Took it to new places, met a lot of new people, took some great pictures, and talked Doctor Who. From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hanging With web show, this is the legend of the traveling TARDIS. Join me on my latest adventures and become part of the legend.
By the way, if you didn't notice who was speaking that's our guest today, Jason Connery. I was kind of like, he's going to say his name, right? What's that?
Did I not say it was me?
No, you got everything. It was a beautifully wrapped package, and then the bow wasn't tied. That was just, it was beautiful. Hey, folks, welcome again live. For those of you just joining us on StreamYard, on the Facebook page, or on the YouTube channel, thank you for joining us live here at the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. I am the host, and we've got an all-packed event, wonderful episode today. We got a very special guest going on, but let me go with my panel today. For those of you who are listening on the radio, to my left is... there. To my left, Melanie's right. This would be the legendary Mr. Simon Fisher-Becker. How you doing there, Simon?
Oh, tickety-boo, tickety-boo. I managed to get rid of the sheep in the end.
Okay. I have no idea what that means, but okay. We'll roll with it there. To my far, far, far left is Miss Melanie Dean. How you doing there, Melanie?
Doing quite well. Hope everybody else is doing well on this beautiful evening, wherever you happen to be watching.
Where's the little boy Blue?
He's back here.
Oh, he's got to be in the shot.
Do you know how high up I have to? Fine, I'll hold him.
No, you don't have to hold him.
It's heavy. He's metal. This is going to be.
I know, but you got books or something like that, right? No, no, okay.
Maybe a foot up. Continue with the intros, Christian.
Okay, well, continuing on, down to my bottom. That didn't come out well at any rate. Didn't come out well at all. Is Nisha Mulchin, Diversely Geek, our APRN resident nurse there. How you doing there?
Yeah,
Nisha?
hey, that is definitely not a description I would have chosen for
No,
myself.
I don't. Sorry.
No,
If you're listening on the radio station, sorry. I'm trying to explain this for people who are watching us on the screen there. To my far, far bottom left corner, she's got her own traveling TARDIS, joining us for the very first time, is Jen Ward Hall, better known as the Mother of Gratitude. Jen, tell us a little bit about the website, because we've already made the announcement, but I want to make it again here live. What's going on there? Tell us about what you got.
I'm the Mother of Gratitude, and I'm here to bring it. So I have the Gratitude Radio Network, and ta-da!
Ta-da!
And
Nice.
I'm so happy. We're moving into this building in Clearwater. You can go to gratituderadionetwork.com. If anybody has a podcast they want to add, we can talk to them about that. This is our building that we're renovating right now, and we're going to be podcasting out of it. There's going to be a flight school over here, and it's going to be a lot.
You're going to fit in that building?
Yeah, big building.
For people on the radio station, it's 2 floors. For people who are listening to the radio show, give a little description of the building there. How would you describe it?
It used to be a dialysis building.
Okay.
Upstairs was medical,
Uh-huh.
where the flight school is going to be, and there's some suites there. Downstairs was the offices, and then there's like 3,000 square foot of just openness. So that's the future home of Gratitude. And Gratitude.
What are your plans for the Gratitude Radio Network in the building itself there? By the way, congratulations on getting that building. That's awesome.
Amazing.
Great building.
Thank you. Well, and I want to bring up the neighborhood. What I want to do is I want to change the world. I want to change the tide on where we're going. And I really believe that if everyone started looking and having gratitude for their own life and went to sleep thinking about gratitude, woke up, looked in the mirror and said, thank you, we would be erasing fear in people's lives, and they would be able to open up their gifts. And when you open up one gift, there's another one waiting.
Gotcha. And what we want to announce, and for those of you who probably seen the announcement beforehand, but we're going to mention it again, we are part of the Gratitude Radio Network. The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS has now got an additional home with the Gratitude Radio Network. If you check it out, for those of you who are listening on the radio station, it is gratituderadionetwork.com. We've actually got a link there. There's a ton of content. Now, for people who are not familiar with the Gratitude Radio Network, what kind of content are they going to have when they get there?
They're going to have a wide variety of content, everything from self-help to caregivers to my show has celebrities kind of like yours. And it's all about gratitude. The people that are on this have their own journeys and they're sharing it with us.
All right.
And I want to get one. We have one that I'm looking at is sports. I'm a huge sports fan. COVID has wrecked my summer in sports and hockey. Huge hockey fan. Love hockey. I have a purse on Instagram. I'm Hockey Purse Jen. I have a metal purse and I'm so excited about it. But it's wrecked everything. So I'm really looking for someone that's really good with sports. And I'd like a female and male type of, back and forth discussion on sports. I know enough to be dangerous, so it doesn't need to be me.
Gotcha there. Well, again, we're part of the Gratitude Radio Network, so please check it out over there. And please continue to support all of our local artists, just like Jen Mogg. She's got a music video out there, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we're going to be talking with the man who will remain nameless throughout the whole thing because he won't do the intro, right? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jason Connery. For those of you in Doctor Who circles, you probably know him best in this position.
Oh.
And for those of you not familiar maybe with his work or have seen this picture that I'm showing that folks on the radio show, it is Jason as Jondar from the episode, the Sixth Doctor episode, Colin Baker, Vengeance on Varos. And it's the opening scene where he's being, for a better term, tortured by a spotlight.
Laserized.
What's that?
Laserized.
Laserized. Yeah, because I was looking at the picture. You can actually see, did they actually put makeup on your belly?
They did. They put bruises there.
Oh my goodness! Okay, I didn't even realize that. That's
cool. Well, I guess they were burns, but yeah, it was
supposed to be burns there.
Very hot flashlight.
There you go, and there's another picture there with Colin and Jason and
that's the woman who played my wife, Geraldine Alexander. And she was very nice, and I'd never been married before, so it was a whole new experience for me.
If things don't work, you just go, you know what? No, it's not working out. I'm done with this show. I'm done with this episode there. Jason, in just a few moments, we'll be getting to the chats. But just for the folks who may be part of New Who or may not be familiar with your work, just tell the folks a little bit about yourself there.
Wow. Okay. So I went to Bristol Old Vic Drama School many years ago. And when I left drama school, I went to Perth in Scotland, as opposed to Australia. And I did 6 months there because at the time, to be an actor, you had to get your equity card, a bit like a SAG card. But it was a very strange idea because you couldn't get it unless you worked, and you couldn't work unless you had it. So I was acting ASM at Perth Rep, and I did 6 months there. And then came down to London. The first film I did was called, of course, I've forgotten what it's called. I actually spoke to you about it today, Christian.
Yes.
It was a Pat Conroy book. Anyway, all about a military academy in South Carolina. And they shaved my head because I did have hair in those days. And then just kept working. I was working in the theater, in film and television, and did a bit of radio. And I think probably at that time, right before I got Robin of Sherwood, I did the Doctor Who, and then I then got Robin of Sherwood. I played Robin Hood, or I played Robert of Huntingdon, who was the second legend of Robin Hood. and then from then carried on working, and probably about 12 or 15 years ago, I started to direct. And I direct plays, and then I started something called Short Mondays, where we would make short films. On the last Monday of every month, we would show them at a place called the Pig and Whistle in Hollywood Boulevard, great pub. And we were sponsored by Guinness, and actually Madonna showed a short there, and Eminem made a video, a short about a Japanese rapper.
Oh.
And so I started directing, and I just loved the idea of telling the whole story, which is a very different perspective than when you're acting. And I also love talking to actors, and also teach acting. So that all culminated in raising some money to make a film called Pandemic, funnily enough.
Yes.
How apropos, which we shot in 12 days for $200,000. And
wow.
I sold it to Netflix, and yeah, and so then carried on the Philly Kid, and then eventually to Tommy's Honor, and Tommy's Honor won a BAFTA here in the UK for best film, and was a work of love for me. I just love the story, which I know we'll talk about later. But I do have an exclusive to give to this show.
Okay.
Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. And here it is. Recently, my business partner and I have started running a film studio in Edinburgh. Well, actually in Leith, in the port of Leith. It's a huge building that was originally the port's building, and we've leased it, and it's 170,000 square feet. It has 30,000 square foot of offices on 3 floors, and it has the potential for 5 sound stages and various other elements. But it's the most amazing building, and it was built to build massive electrical transformers. And so it has this whole infrastructure, which lends itself to being soundproof, because you can literally hang the soundproofing off the walls, because it's got a 60-ton Goliath crane in the center of it, which is over 100 feet high. So it's very exciting, and that's a world exclusive for you.
Now, I just want to let people know. Well, first of all, let me show a picture of you in Robin Hood. Hang on a second. Let me click that up there. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's the wrong one. I'm sorry. That's not the one.
That was before the makeup.
For those of you who are listening to the radio station, just think, oh, ha, dodge, parry, dodge, spin, thrust, or whatever that was there. Sorry there. I want to actually make certain that people may not be aware. You're a Time Lord. I have proof, because you are the second coming of Robin Hood.
Yes.
You're the second. You were the play. How did that work out? How did that come into play?
Well, you know, there's a couple of things. I mean, first of all, Michael left the show. He went off to do a Broadway show playing D'Artagnan, actually, and where he rode in on his first entrance on a white horse. So how could he turn that down?
Right.
On Broadway. And Kip, the writer of Robin of Sherwood, Kip Carpenter, is a lovely man and a great writer, I think. He was researching and saw that there was actually a claim by a family, the Huntington family, who said that they, in fact, the Earl of Huntington was in fact Robin Hood. And it wasn't Robin of Locksley, as everybody thought. So he pursued that and came up with this character. And obviously all the Marys had dispersed. And so my whole entrance into it was this sort of masked figure or hooded man. And I had to round them all up and get the gang back together to then go and save Marion, who'd been absconded by nasty people.
Oh, gotcha.
So that was, and actually what was great about it was it wasn't like Dallas where, suddenly a different actor was playing the same person. So
right.
And also it introduced, like, I had to woo Marion because she was all forlorn about the loss of the other guy and, all that kind of stuff. So
You're the replacement. You're rebound, Robin.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Well, sorry about it. Well, when we return, we're going to hit the commercial break. When we return, we're going to continue our discussions with Jason Connery and get to your chats. When we return, please continue to stay logged on, tuned in, and continue to become part of the legend.
Bateman.
What's the Bateman?
A novel set in Florida, written by Florida author D.L. Havlin. Suspense, mystery, and murder.
Evidence is in the bait.
The Bateman is available at local bookstores and online.
Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish.
Santa, if there's one thing I want for Christmas more than anything, it's someone to spend Christmas with. Someone who really wants me to be there.
Head to the mountains of East Tennessee with romance author Jenna Hart for a Christmas writer's workshop. Since her mother passed after a long illness, Jenna has had one wish. She doesn't want to spend Christmas alone. Meeting Niccolo Maldini, cover model and actor, could make more than Jenna's Christmas wish come true. Unless Ember, Niccolo's ex-girlfriend, does something crazy to stop them from being together. It's a mountain Christmas romance you won't want to miss in Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish. Now on Amazon.com. Jackie Sonnenberg's My Soul to Keep is a ghost story rooted in the realities of actual cults. When 13-year-old Sky Monroe arrives at her new boarding school, all she can think about is death and connecting with the afterlife. Soon she discovers her school's spirituality group, the Guardians of Light, and they have a secret. They can speak with the dead, and the organization is a cult. But this isn't Sky's only problem. The campus house where Sky resides is haunted, and even the ghosts have an agenda. They intend on getting the souls they want. Filled with mystery and intrigue plucked straight from the headlines, author Jackie Sonnenberg's research and attention to detail give this ghost story an even more eerie atmosphere. Find My Soul to Keep on Amazon.com today.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil, and we want to give a special thanks to our friends over at Geek Insider, Merritt Lauren, and all the team over there at geekinsider.com. Without them, we would not be actually running our live feed today over there with Jason and all of our team out here. Check them out, please, at geekinsider.com. You can actually subscribe to their free newsletter. And Geek Insider has been very good about doing online conventions. They just had their second one we just did recently with Indie Event, and I think Meredith and the team are working on their third. So please check out geekinsider.com. We wish them so much, and we thank them so much for bringing us that we can do the live feed over there for the folks of you who are joining us here on the live stream. We're going to continue our discussion with Jason Connery down here. Now, Jason, were you a Whovian before you got the role? I gotta ask that.
Yeah.
Who's your doctor? Who's your doctor?
My doctor, I think it was John Pertwee. I mean, I remember it very well because I used to work. It was on. I think it was on a Saturday afternoon and early evening, and I remember I had a girlfriend called Rosalind Murray. She wasn't really a girlfriend. She was just, someone who used to bring extra food for me at lunchtime. So she became a girlfriend. But we used to watch Doctor Who together, and I would be, especially the Cybermen, I would be absolutely, bricking it and I have to pretend to her that I wasn't scared. So we'd be sitting there watching it, and I'd be sort of acting all casual, like it wasn't scary. But those episodes, were scary to me. And I loved that show. I did. I loved the show. Yeah, and Tom Baker as well.
And then, but who's your doctor? Who's your go-to doctor? Not necessarily your favorite, but your. I
think probably Tom Baker.
Tom Baker. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, we're going to go to your chats out here. Speaking of the devil, Meredith Lauren, I love hockey. Nothing like watching live. Yeah. And of course, our friend author Michaela Jade. That's a very nice position, referring to your picture earlier that we had back over there with the laser eyes there.
I saw one here from someone who said that it was the most violent episode ever made. Is that true?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, I think this is. Let me get to the next one.
One
of the most violent. Yeah, it was at the time. I think it was also during that time that Doctor Who was kind of teetering a little bit, and the criticisms were getting more violent. And I was just like, have you seen Tom Baker's stuff? I mean, like Deadly Assassin or The Talons of Wang Chiang? And it's like, I guess because times change. That was back in the 70s, and you moved to the 80s. Now 2020. I meant stuff like here. I usually joke around like the music alone. You could remove 80% of the 90s and 90% of the 80s because it just doesn't seem to fit well in the 2020 world. But it's a part of history. Yeah, times change, and
well, you know, also we had. There's a lady in England called Mary Whitehouse.
Yes, I remember her. Oh yeah.
Okay. So Mary Whitehouse was very much, you know, against all kind of violence and was very worried about it and everything. And so, you know, Robin of Sherwood, she would always go on about Robin of Sherwood being violent, but actually there's no blood in Robin of Sherwood. I mean, nobody, you know, we were there sword fighting and everything, but nobody bleeds. I mean, you might see, I don't even think you saw someone with blood on their face after an event or something like that. So it was, you know, to a certain extent, it was all sort of in the imagination. And I think in Doctor Who, that was quite often the case too. I mean, in Vengeance on Varos, I was being laserized.
Right.
Which obviously is very painful, as I will attest to. But, you know, it was the idea of it more than the actual, like nowadays you see things, I think, that are infinitely more violent, that are physically, graphically violent. But in a way, and I think this is true, if you've got a good imagination, when you watch something, it may not be violent, but your idea of it is violent because of the fact that your imagination works with it.
Speaking of violent, I'm going to talk about Pandemic in just a few seconds there. But Eunice Pagan says, Mary Whitehouse, again, Michael Gray was looking for any excuses. We don't mention either one of those names. Sorry, Eunice.
Okay.
It was such an excellent story that was ahead of its time. Yeah, I usually just mention that Vengeance on Varos is a story that was, it was a wonderful story with a bad budget. And then the golf carts.
I mean, there were a number of things. I tell you one thing that I still laugh about is that we all had to come flying around this corner, and there was meant to be this hideous thing in front of us.
Right.
And they kept saying, you know, you rehearse, and they kept saying, okay, you're going to come around the corner, and there's going to be this, and you, oh God, and it's so scary, and it's frightening you. And Nicola Bryant's there, and Colin's there, and I'm there, and my wife's there. Geraldine's there, and so okay, so finally we get to shoot it, and we come running around the corner, and there's a gaffer standing on the top of a ladder holding a piece of gaffer tape, shaking it like this, and, we all go, and then when they actually did it, it was a fly. It was like a fly that they magnified, and it didn't even look as, I mean, the mapping of the fly on the thing, it was just, it was all expense spared production.
It was a blue lit fly. That's all I remember. And everybody was walking in, and then there was that one scene where you guys were meeting. It was just like surreal. It was almost like an acid trip. There was a scene where you're meeting your other selves across the way, and you were like about to shake hands or something. I was just like, what the heck is going on? And then you notice that you're about to fall into this pit of lava or something like this. This is just a very
Here's one for you. Let's see if our panel can get this.
Sure.
There's someone in that show that appears in the show in a smaller part, who had quite a good part in Game of Thrones.
Oh my God. I think I know who, and I just can't get the name there.
And I'll tell you what's equally funny about it is he's quite a handsome guy, and the director said to him, okay, so you're going to be wearing, I won't say his name until you get it, but you're going to be wearing a helmet most of the time. So, and they put this helmet on him, which literally covered this much of his face. It came down to here. He's the guy driving the golf cart. And so he kept trying to come up with ways to take his helmet off. And the director, who was shouting from, you know, because they use you're down on the set and he's up in the booth, and he shouted, put your helmet back on.
Was it Owen Teale?
Owen Teale, well done.
He played Madlick.
No, I've met him. I've met him. So
he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
But he was so pissed off when he because he was like, you know, I could just take my keep it. Yeah.
That is, oh gosh, that is.
Just wanted just a little bit of FaceTime, just a little bit of FaceTime.
I know. And then he had to drive the cart that nobody could get down the corridor because it was too wide. So,
now I'm also going to think about a movie that probably nobody's connected the dots yet, but I found out about it and I watched it. You Are an Evil Man, Shanghai Noon. With Jackie Chan and Owen Wilson. And I was just like, how did you get... I don't even think I knew that you were even in that movie at first. And then when I did, I was like, my God, he can be really evil. And I don't like it when you're evil. I just don't.
Well, I did, you know, I'm one of the only actors in the world to be killed with an oyster shell to the throat. but I will say that what actually happened was... they offered me the part, and I had a fight scene with Jackie, like a considerable fight scene, which was very, very exciting to me. Although when I saw him fight, I nearly crapped my pants because he was ridiculously fast and he was doing things that sort of defied gravity. And I just thought, I'm going to die. But I was also quite excited about it. And we started to rehearse. And then it turned out that the US had bombed some part of China by accident. I don't quite know why. It wasn't a big bomb, but it was big enough to be annoying to the Chinese, and they banned everyone from America. And so instead of shooting in the Forbidden City, they were going to have a skeleton crew with just me, Lucy Liu, Jackie Chan, and Roger, who played the other guy, Roger Juan. And they suddenly said, oh no, we're not going to do that. We're going to shoot in Calgary. And because they've got an ice rink there that looks vaguely Chinese. And I'm like, what?
What?
And then they said, we're going to cut the fight because there's nowhere to do it. So I didn't get to fight Jackie, which was kind of a bummer. But he's a very nice guy. I mean, he's got energy like you can't believe. He never stops. And he would say to the director, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do, and you could see the director going, what? And he goes, yeah, you put the camera there, you put the camera, and he, you know, nobody will insure his guys. So he insures them, and they do things that everybody, all the American stuntmen were like, what? And then, of course, they all had to dress these Asian guys as cowboys, which was interesting. But it was a fun shoot.
My God, sure. Well, we want to welcome to the live chat and everybody who's joining us: Arthur, Kayla, Michaela Jade. We also want to welcome Graham Krause, Ted Davies. Welcome to the thing. Mark David Taylor is giving me a hard time because we put a Christmas ad right here in the summertime. But fine. Chris Mockridge, he says hi, and Meredith Lawren. I'd love to hear about some behind the scenes shenanigans. What's the best practical joke that Jason did or was done to him, besides being killed by a shellfish? So.
Well, you know, when I joined Robin of Sherwood, I was quite nervous because they'd all worked together and they were all great buddies and everything. And I was the new boy coming in. And one of the things they did was there was a party, getting to know you kind of party. And there were a lot of people there and everything. And I'm sitting in the chair and everybody's sitting around. And then this girl comes over and starts talking to me. And then this other girl comes over and starts talking to me. And finally, there's like, I'm completely surrounded by women. And I'm thinking, what's going on? What, you know? And then I look up and all the Marys are standing there laughing away like this, pointing at, and they'd set me up, you know. And I'd been there thinking that I'd suddenly become this great Lothario. And they just sent the girls over and said, just go over and talk. Yeah, just go over here. That was, there was also a very bizarre one. That right at the end of Robin of Sherwood, we had this a lamb to eat, and it was about a week before the end of the shoot, and there was a big piece of gristle, and they were always doing things like this, and they took this gristle and put it in my costume in the pocket, and of course in the scene I have to pull money out of my pocket, and there's a great big piece of gristle in there. So I'm like, oh God. So I then take the gristle and put it in Little John's pocket. So he then finds the gristle, and then this went on for, it must have been 2 weeks, and it went in other people's pockets. It was in the back of their car. It was and finally on the last day, I think I've got away with it. We're all having a drink in the pub, and I'm halfway through my Bloody Mary, and there's a piece of gristle right in the bottom.
Oh God!
No.
Oh.
Was it the same piece of gristle? It wasn't like refreshed.
Oh yeah.
No, it's like
Oh yeah. Oh no, it had things on it that weren't even human. I mean, alien bits on it.
Well, your immune system must be really good now.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, there were things going on all the time. I mean, when we had guest stars come in. Here's a good one. This wasn't a practical joke, but this one was just one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. Oh. So I'm sitting there. It's a getting to know you. We had the guest stars. We had Richard O'Brien and we had Jeremy Sinden. So Richard O'Brien obviously is a Rocky Horror Picture Show, and he played Gulnar in the show. And he's shaved head. He's got skull rings. He's wearing a leopard skin, a leotard, and he's sitting next to me. And no, I'm opposite. And then next to him is a guy called Jeremy Sinden. Jeremy Sinden is this sort of jacket, cravat. Oh, you couldn't get two dissimilar people. Anyway, there's a lull in conversation, and suddenly Jeremy, who's a bit of a raconteur, says, "Oh, did anyone see that piece of on the television last night, the Rocky Horror Picture Show?" Now I'm eating minestrone soup, and I snorted, and this pea went all the way around and shot out of my nose. So I'm sitting there going, "Oh." And then I didn't know what to do, so I said, "Well, Jeremy, Richard's in the Rocky Horror Picture Show." And Jeremy put his hand on his shoulder and said, "Don't worry, old chap, it's not your fault. It was just so badly written."
Oh, God.
And for you that don't know, Richard O'Brien wrote the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes.
Anyway, at that time, I sort of slunk under the table. And if you watch the episode, they never look or talk to each other in the whole episode. So.
And this is actually the best line here. Nakamas Max says, "Sounds like I had I drunk at Disney World or something like that." Ladies and gentlemen, we got a hard break. When we return, we're going to be rating this movie right in front of Jason Connery, a film that he directed called Tommy's Honor. We return. Please continue to stay logged on, tuned in, and continue to become part of the legend. It's okay, Jason. Calm down.
Hi, I'm Claudia Christian with some exciting updates in the Sinclair Method world. First of all, we launched our new coaching page. It's yoursinclairmethod.com, so you can go there and book a session with one of our fabulous coaches. You can also reach that page by visiting c3foundation.org. It's at the top of the landing page of the website. The second piece of news is Journeys is out. Woohoo! This book has been a long time in the making, and it is available in Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your local bookstore, and there's a limited amount of signed copies at c3foundation.org. So get your copy of Journeys now and visit the coaching page for some wonderful support. If you're on the Sinclair Method, you can book a session with a variety of different coaches. Take care and be well.
Alien invaders enslave Earth,
unleashing hunters into the ruined wastes.
One young survivor struggles to elude their monsters, clinging to hope.
When he's stolen off the planet by a sarcastic starship AI, they pit their uneasy alliance against a treacherous galaxy.
Explore a whole new verse of barbarism and betrayal.
Wonder and adventure.
In the Scion series
by Michael J. Allen.
Beginning with Book 1, Scion Conquered Earth.
Available in print, ebook, and audio on Amazon.com.
You have more options than ever before when choosing a film, a television or internet series, a book to curl up with, or even a radio show or podcast. Get to know the people who are creating for you. The Hangin' With Web Show, hosted by award-winning author and journalist G.W. Pomacher, is the internet's fastest-growing web talk show series. The Hangin' With Web Show features professional, yet casual, in-depth interviews with creative arts and entertainment pros. Meet the people behind a digital revolution in creating more quality content than ever before in the history of media. Find the Hangin' With Web Show on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or simply go to www.hanginwithshow.com. That's www.hanginwithshow.com.
That grizzle's tasty. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS.
What on earth are you doing? How did you not time the sip?
Take a drink, folks.
I was hoping that the vodka and the Bloody Mary, somehow got rid of
Don't
any.
encourage my bad habits. Melanie will never forgive me.
No.
Okay, folks, so welcome back to Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Thank you for staying with us. And of course, you're seeing these wonderful, wonderful people who support us, who sponsor us there. If you could please also, if you have a product, if you have something that you want and believe in our show, please email Sage or myself at thehangingwithshow.com. Sage or myself. We've got now, 35,000 Facebook subscribers. We're closing in 36,000. And plus, we've got over 12,000 YouTube subscribers. Thank you, one and all, for joining us. And if you want to help support and help this great content and help make sure that Jason Connery has a decent meal every day, please go ahead and subscribe to us at the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Subscribe to sponsor us, either Sage or myself. Let me go ahead and read this again. Sage at hangingwithshow.com or myself at Christian@hangingwithshow.com. We will give you great packages and great deals to help this show continue. But speaking of continuing, we are going to be rating Tommy's Honor. And we're all going to go and put up our numbers all at the same time. So you guys ready for this? This is the most horrible thing in the world we've ever seen. And 10, this is the best movie ever made. So everybody put up your numbers at this time, that we can see them. There we go.
Oh, my. Melanie, thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Nisha, let's see your phone. I know you type it in there.
I type it in.
Gotcha.
Oh, you can't see it. It's a teeny number.
Well, just shout the number. I believe you.
Oh, it's an 8. It's there.
It's an 8?
Yes.
Jen, what is that? Okay, so for those of you on the radio show,
it's a 9.
It's a 9. Okay, so just for the folks on the radio show, I, myself, Simon, and the mother of gratitude herself, Jen Hall, we've all rated this a 9. Melanie gave it a perfect score, but of course the lowest denominator has to go first. This is going to be on Nisha. Nisha, I'm going to put you in the frame of shame.
No.
I'm done. I'm out.
I'm very appreciative of to hear your thoughts. I mean, it's as I say, it's you can't say anything wrong. I mean, honestly, if you didn't like the film, then that's fine. There's no.
Problem.
I'm not saying you didn't like the film. I'm just saying, if one didn't, then
Jason, you don't understand. It's not that your film was. We'll get into the discussion there. It's I got to razz Nisha anytime I get a chance to razz Nisha, and she just happened to have the lowest score. So Nisha, you rated it an 8. What was your pros?
Which is a really high score for me. Very few things ever get anything higher than that, and it's not because it was fantastic. I watched it behind the scenes on purpose because if you guys don't know it, there is one, and it's like amazing, where you really get to see your work, Jason. Because you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually helped me a lot to understand the set design and what the legacy, the iconic nature of the film was, and the story in terms of the Scottish background. And all of that was amazing. I think that I love the story very much. And my nephew actually is a golfer, so I do have a connection. But 8 is just a really high number for me, because for me, it's a very well-rounded number. It means that you've met so much. I look a lot for a lot of emotional connection because of what I do. And so in a film, I'm looking a lot for certain things in terms of that story arc. And, it's rare that anything ever gets any higher than an 8.5 or a 9 in terms of my life. But the film was wonderful. The set design was fantastic. So, and I love the story. I think I wanted to look a little bit more into maybe some of the background of the family. But I know you tried to put it in there in the timeline that you had, and I get that. I totally do. But
yeah, I mean, it's taken from a book, Tommy's Honor, and that book is a wonderful read and has a myriad of other things. And I mean, like, You know, for instance, old Tom outlasted his entire family. He died at 86, which we say in the movie, but he swam in the sea every day. And the way he died for a man of his kind of caliber was he used to sit with his dog Silver outside. You know, he wasn't allowed in the RNA building, so he was part of the St Andrews Golf Club, and he used to sit there with a half beer, watching the golfers come in. And he got up to go to the bathroom, and he turned into the door that he thought was the bathroom was actually went down to the basement, and he stepped down into and hit his head and died. And you just, you know, I mean, he'd probably gone to that bathroom about 4,000 times, and he just happened to open the wrong door.
It just happened. I really love the amount of detail that you put into making sure that you honored the period piece. Yeah,
it was really, really important, because I often see period movies where it looks like the costumes are wearing the actors. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to break the costumes down, and I wanted the guys who were the caddies. A lot of the caddies lived in their clothes, and they would be out all day, and then they'd go home, sleep, and come back. And you know, they made very little money, and so it was wonderful to have all those tweeds and the different textures and the different colors, but I didn't want them to appear. You know, obviously the gentleman things could afford new clothes, and they had the whole red jackets and everything. But yeah, we had a great costume lady, and she was totally into it. And we were breaking down clothes all the time to make them look worn in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you, though. Thank you. I appreciate that. And also, my ethos as far as storytelling is concerned is if it doesn't have heart, if an audience can't connect to it, then it's not really, it hasn't worked. Okay. You know.
All right. Connection in terms of the family dynamic, I will say that for sure. I definitely think it was simply because I would have wanted to flesh out more, but you couldn't because you had no time. So I get that completely. And don't kill me now. I love this. I feel bad.
No, don't.
Frame of shame. Frame of shame.
No shame. There's no shame.
These are really great scores there. But Jen, you are up. You rated it a 9. Tell us a little bit about it.
I did.
Go for it. Oh, you got your own traveling TARDIS. I love it.
Yeah, that works and everything, but it's smaller on the inside. I don't know what happened.
It's not the size; it's where you take it.
So
never mind. Keep going.
Right, because so from my background, I'm a theater person. I had my own theater troupe and producer screenplay. I love the actor's point of view when I see something. And when I think of golf, one of my first things that I ever remembered was Robin Williams' skit on what golf was.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Remember that? Yeah. And how funny that was. And
yeah.
And that's always in the back of my head when I think of golfing in Scotland, and I'm Irish. So I loved one of the movies that I think as a golfer and was done very well was The Legend of Bagger Vance. What I loved about your movie is that it brought us in. You told the story well-rounded. The cinematography was awesome. I would have loved for everyone to have seen it on
IMAX.
IMAX.
Yeah, I'd love to have seen it on IMAX. Wow.
That would have been like my dream. That would have been my 10 was if I could have had an IMAX experience with it. I thought the screenplay was awesome, and you did such a great job with the actors and having exactly the people be the characters.
Well, I have to say the guy, you may be familiar with the guy that played. In fact, he's in Ozark. Was in the first and the second season of Ozark. Peter Mullen. He's a wonderful. He played a really bizarre guy who was a poppy grower and had a mad wife. And he's just such a wonderful actor. And what's extraordinary about him is, and I never had this ability. Is he can be having a normal conversation and he's telling a story, and then you say action and he's like, phoom, and he's just like completely there. And in fact, he uses it as a way to keep himself relaxed. And the funny thing is he had these scenes with Sam Neill, and Sam Neill is the kind of actor who likes to sort of prepare and likes to have a moment before he is going to start the scene. And Peter would always be telling him these stories, and then I'd say action, and Sam would go, wait, what am I, what, oh God, I forgot what was it. And
he threw him off his game.
Yeah, and the thing was, I had to say to Peter, just don't talk to Sam right before the take, because he's not. And he goes, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, I just was, and he didn't do it intentionally at all. But and the young boy Jack Loudon, I'm in the Scottish borders at the moment, and he lives half an hour away. And weirdly, I interviewed him on Skype in his living room when he was auditioning for it. And I was in LA, so he's a lovely guy and remains a friend to this day. And I had a lovely cast, and as an actor, I do love working with the cast. So I really appreciate that you like the performances.
That's set life is family, and it's when you're able to turn on the camera, whether you're behind it or you're in front of it, and you enter into it's another dimension. It's another world, and there's nothing on earth like it.
That's exactly how I feel when I watch a movie and I'm completely immersed, or television or whatever. I mean, it's like just time, and you just boom right in there, and it's fantastic. And in fact, one of the nicest compliments I got was from my dad, who said, as soon as I started watching it, I was in the world.
Yeah,
it was very nice.
Yeah, because you become immersed with it. It's rare. It's rare, especially nowadays, that you can watch a movie, or you know what it's like. You watch a movie without critiquing it. You shut your brain off, and you
right.
In.
Right.
And thank you for giving us that.
Well, no, I appreciate. I mean, look, I when you talk about worrying about saying something, I did a play which I got wonderful reviews for across the board, except for one guy who said I was boring, monotone, and wooden, and that's the only one I remember. So, and who cares? I mean, that's his opinion, and it's fine, and it's so. I have to say, I look at it now, and believe me, it took me a while to get there, but I look at it now and I say, if your opinion is that you like it, that's very nice. If your opinion is that you don't like it, that's okay. It's I'm not going to fight you on it.
No, and keep all of the ones that are good with you.
I know I should.
Opinion can destroy everything, and there's no way they could walk in your shoes and do what you've done, because it is a feat, regardless where you come from, to put something like this together, and to have the cinematography to go with it. It's a mini vacation that everybody could use right now.
Well, I think the lovely thing as well is about a story like this, a period story, is that, it doesn't age. I mean, if you see a 70s movie with everybody walking around with a cell phone that's like this big, it kind of almost takes you out of it unless you throw yourself into the idea of the time. Period movie, it's just, you feel as though you're in that time.
And you're discovering, for everyone else that hasn't gone through the 70s, that don't see the nostalgia of it. And before analog, before digital, I always say it's before digital, and then, analog and digital, or before Wi-Fi, after Wi-Fi generation. They don't have the appreciation for everything the way that people lived.
Yeah.
And the simplicity.
I'm going to wrap this up because we got a hard commercial. Jason, hold that thought. We just got one more comment. Author Michaela Jabe says that's the feeling I strive for with my books. I tried my best to put the readers into my world. It's the best feeling when the reader says they get lost in your movie or your book. Yeah, that is truly true. Speaking of being lost, we're going to go into our final commercial break. When we return, Simon, Christian, and Melanie will give their reviews of Tommy's Honor, and we'll be putting up the link to what Simon. I said Simon, didn't I? Yes. What did I say?
You said Christian.
Yeah, I said Christian.
I'm happy to be Christian.
I'm on a third party. We're going to get to the remaining three right when we return with this commercial break. When we return, please continue to stay logged on, tune in, and continue to become part of the legend.
Experience Samara's adventure as she imagines the people around her change into friendly cartoon animals right before her eyes. Journey with her in this poetic tale, My Cartoon Imagination at School.
Now on Amazon.com, I Coin from author Jeremy Mosby. It's an alternate reality, and the leader of the planet I-Coin is none other than Benjamin Franklin. When corrupt officials threaten not only I-Coin but the Earth as well, an unlikely chosen one, Jeremy, must face dark foes to save the Earth and I-Coin alike. Author Jeremy Mosby takes readers on a superhero's adventure through this compelling and imaginative alternate universe. Get I-Coin on Amazon.com today.
Best-selling and award-winning author of true crime and crime fiction, Yvonne Mason is back with a brand new book, The Pink Canary, a book that delves into the life of a drag queen and a marvelous whodunit. You can find this and all of Yvonne's other works on Amazon.com, or find Yvonne Mason on Facebook and Twitter.
He's gonna kill me.
Buy your copy of Pink Canary now.
And we're back with Jason Connery here at the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. It's down there. My name is Christian Basil. I'm here with Simon Winworth Melanie. I'm here with Jay Mogg herself, the mother of gratitude. I'm here with Nisha Mulchin of Diversity Geek, and we have the lovely and talented and wonderful Jason Connery. We're finalizing our review of Tommy's Honor, and if you like, I'm going to go ahead and put that link back up for anybody who wants to buy or purchase or rent it from our reviews out there. Please check it out. Always support local artists and support friends like Jason. You got to check out Tommy's Honor. But next up on our frame of shame is going to be Simon himself. And then get a little discussion out. Tell us what you thought. You rated it a 9 just like I did.
Yes, I gave it a 9. What I liked in particular, and it's something I like anyway, is films that tell us true story. Right. That was actually a real story, and it's told truthfully. Because sometimes with some historic material, you feel there's been some sort of artistic license and you don't quite get the facts. With this, I found that it was powerful and very much a moving tale. And it was about a real life situation, which was brilliantly done, and everything positive that's been said before, I agree. And to be honest, the only reason I gave you a 9 is because it's about golf. And I have a natural aversion to it, because when I was a kid, there was a golf course near where I lived, but it was stretched where there was a road that sort of ran through it. And a friend of mine got almost killed when a golf ball came and knocked her off her bike. Then it was the attitude of the golf players that I found quite distasteful. But joking apart, I thought it was a beautifully told story, beautifully acted, and of course the Scottish scenery is fantastic, and also it shows the madness of some golf players who play in whatever the weather is. So yes, beautifully told. Thank you. And I would recommend it to anyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first read the book, I rang the producer who said that he wanted me to direct it, having seen another film I directed, and I said, this film isn't about golf. Now, I understand exactly what you're saying. I mean, and that was actually something that we came up against a lot, because as soon as people read the word golf, they're like, okay, this is not for me. I don't like the game. I never played it. I think everybody plays golf isn't, well, we won't say, but there's a lot. It's in England, they say it's a bit like Marmite golf. You either love it or you hate it. There's no in between. And, so we did come up against that, because for me, and this is what I said to the producer, it's not a film about golf. The backdrop is golf. It's very much a passion for these men, but it's really a family drama. It's a tragic story, and it's about love, and it's about honor, obviously, and it's about these guys were living in an environment where there was a real class system, and the church was very powerful in that society, and the class was You know, Tom never ever went into the RNA building his whole life. And the irony, I know, the irony is that when I walked up, because I met the guys from the RNA, when I walked up, there's a plaque on the outside of Tom Morris, and I looked up at it and I nudged the guy who was showing us around. I said, "Look, Tom Morris is still outside." Because and there's pictures of him inside, but he never went in. So, I mean, I take your point, Simon. It is something that we fought against, because there were people who go, I'm not going to go see a film about golf, but I do think there's a lot more there.
Oh, it was beautiful, and I'm also I also would like to find out the origins of all sorts of things, and of course they are known as the founding fathers of the modern golf,
right?
And there was reference to that it's actually been played for 500 years.
Yes,
I'd love to know. I'd love to know how it all started.
You know how it started? It started with shepherds, and they would have a crook, and they'd have a rock, and they would literally hit this rocks with their crook, and then they started sort of betting, and then there'd be a rabbit hole, and they try and get the rock. And of course, if you had a nice round rock, so that's how it started.
There we go. Now that's somewhere I would take the TARDIS, and I would put a deck chair outside and sit and watch it. It's the attitude of some people there that is quite extraordinary. But you find that across all sports and all industries. So it's that's a human trait, really, to be honest. Yeah, but very good, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. Yeah.
Okay. Well, my turn. I gave it a 9. A 9. Never mind. Quite get it. I gave it a 9. The whole. I don't want to butter your toast too much on this one, but I discussed it with you earlier, Jason, because you mentioned about me watching this movie, and I was just like, oh yeah, it's a movie about golf. Just wanted to let you know, and it's like, oh my God, there's only 2 golfing movies I will tolerate. It's Caddyshack and Happy Gilmore. That's how shallow I am when it came to golf.
Love Caddyshack.
I do too. It's a beautiful movie there, but I'm like, oh gosh, it's going to be golf. I'm going to be, and I got to tell you, I was not only was I into the world, immersed into the world of these 2 men, but I actually had a better appreciation for golf, because here's its origins right here. And one of the funny things I loved about it is Tommy would walk in with like an experiment, like he brought in, what are those things that you put clubs in?
Golf bag.
Yeah, golf bag. He would bring in a golf bag, show it to his dad, and his dad would go, "Oh, whatever." And like, he's showing you the future of golf.
Oh
he would have all of these little, he would have all these little things going on, and the father would just blow it off. And I think when I see this movie, it's more of a coming of age story.
Yeah,
and it is that there's that little there's that scene. I don't know why I keep thinking about it, but Monty Python had this sketch where it turns out that the father works in theater and the son works in the coal mine. The son wants to work in the coal mine, but the father's going, no, I want you to be in the theater. I want you to be in the theater. I don't know why, but it reminded me that, the role reversal there. But I
think that I mean, for me, I hope anyway that it works on a number of different levels. But the father-son thing is the pivotal sort of relationship. Yes. That's the core relationship. And I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but the whole thing, the boat trip, that's all true. Where his father didn't tell him because his father was playing well and didn't want to he wanted to finish the game, and and the guilt that one carries for that kind of thing, and just. There were so many things in the story that spoke to me just from the point of view of a father-son relationship. And then Meg, his wife, when she comes along, they were such a powerful force together. And in the way that it wasn't an economical marriage, because very often at that time it was economic. Basically, you married so that you could have a family, and then the mother would look after the children, and the father would go out to work, and they could pool their resources. The mother would do some work, But Meg and Tommy was a whole different. It was a modern, you know, kind of step, and that's what, in a way, that thing of his father always saying, "No, let's keep it how it is."
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with not going into the clubhouse. It's the same thing, you know. It's like, and his son knew his own worth. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry, I could wax lyrical.
No. And I want to get Melanie in because we're coming to the end of the show.
Yeah.
But what I see is the old adage of father knows best, but son knows what's best for him. And it's always going to be that conflicting argument. But what brought them together was their love and passion for golf there.
Right.
And that's what I think makes this a wonderful movie, because like I said, I'm not too crazy about the game itself, but this movie made it one step for me to go like, well, I really appreciate it, because now I got to see its origins, and I got to see the passion of why people love this game, and the passion of Tommy Jr., who goes, you know, I can make it one better there. Let me go ahead and grab Melanie in there to wrap it up there. Melanie, you had a 10.
Oh, Melanie.
I had a 10, and I have like 4 sentences to say about it. Okay, so let's preface it with, I did not know anything about this film going in. And usually that's how I tend to rate things better, because I have no expectations. I firmly believe that if you're going to watch a film and if you want to really thoroughly enjoy it, don't get spoilery. Don't find out too much about it.
No, I agree.
So you don't have crazy expectations. I don't know anything about golf. I don't know a single thing, flat out. But from a marketing perspective of how I am, I can see where your point was before. The second that you say to an audience, this is a movie that's golf, you just turned off a whole good section of your audience. We're basically a finite section you turned on to it. Whereas this film, if I'm going to tell, because this was, again, this 10, anybody that I'm going to tell about to spout this film to, it is a story about a son not wanting to get into the family business. And that is a trope that just spans centuries, that spans times. Everybody who has grown up with their parents, and if they had a family business or wants to see what their parents want for them, this is that film it's going to touch everybody. Everybody can take a facet of their own lives and go, wait a minute, I can relate to that.
Right.
I thought that, the way this was shot was absolutely stunning. Whoever your DP was, just
Gary Shaw.
Yeah. Wow.
Lovely guy too.
You needed to be more intimate and you needed that camera a little closer, everything was framed beautifully, especially since you're going with a period piece where your lighting, if you're putting too much fake light in at a scene that's dark, you're going to notice that.
Yeah.
Just absolutely beautiful. And then how many things are shot outside, because they're playing golf.
Yeah.
When you needed to go wide, you went wide, and it never felt like you were so far away that there was still an intimacy, even though you weren't maybe not on top. The camera wasn't really right on top of the person. I have like little notes. I'm trying to make sure I hit all this stuff. It was very, very well written. It was very, very well directed, sir. Because the biggest thing, I don't know how you would, because to just be just clapping for you. I don't care how well written it is for time jumps. That to me is that it's all on direction. And you were able to tell a story where you were able to push through time pretty quickly, but you were able to do it just by the photos that he won 1 year, then the second year, then the third year. And now we're over there with the father giving his speech. And that him getting with Meg, the pregnancy and all that. Nothing felt like it was rushed. The story from beginning to end was just beautifully executed. This is one where I'm not a big person that runs out and watches drama, but I fully tell anybody watching the show now, and I'm going to be pushing this movie to other people that I know. This was just a very beautifully written story that's not going to be a crazy tearjerker unless you want it to be. It's not going to be high. It was well balanced. It was an absolutely well balanced film, and I can see why you have a BAFTA for it.
That's right. Thank you very much. There I will show you my gratitude. Thank you.
Speaking of gratitude there, folks, we've come to the end of our show. We're about to go into our after party. If you have any further questions you want to bring up, as long as Jason wants to stay on or everybody else wants to stay on, you're more than welcome to. But the recording audio of the show is over. We want to thank everybody for joining us here at the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. And for those of you who are watching us live on the feed, I just want to say one thing. That's all I got to say. Thank you, folks. And Melanie, we've cut. And
okay,
we are now in the after broadcast. Jason, you can stay as long as you want. We're going to give people a chance who didn't ask questions or. Oh, okay. Here we go. There it is. Question for Jason: as the son of such a famous and wonderful actor, did you ever feel pressured to live up to him from the people or from yourself?
Yes, and I mean, when I first started, I think that I certainly was aware of the fact that people were interested in me because of who my dad was, and I think I found that quite difficult because I felt, that I had to prove something, and so it took quite a long time for me to get to a place where I didn't feel that, and I went through various stages. I mean, if I'm honest, there was a period of time where I was quite angry about it because I felt like I was doing things on my own, and yet somehow it never seemed to be acknowledged by people. It was always in reference to Dad. And then sort of as I've gotten on and done stuff and kept going and done the things that I wanted to do, I can honestly say that everything I've done, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, I've done and given the most of my effort to. And now I just think, well, he's a wonderful actor, and he's my father, and I don't really care. I don't really care if people feel that way, that that I should, I don't. It doesn't bother me now.
I got to see a lovely movie before we recorded this episode. It took me a while, but I finally saw it. I saw Spy Master.
Spy Maker, yes.
Oh, Spy Maker. Sorry, Spy Maker. Yeah. And that's where you're playing Ian Fleming.
Yes.
Or a kind of a fantasy Ian Fleming. And first of all, for those of you who have not seen, who's going to be seeing Tommy's Honor or the movie I just mentioned, which is Spy Master, have a tissue box ready. Spy Maker? Is it Spy Maker? Somebody get Spy Maker. I know. It's that kind of thing.
I've seen Spy Maker and I talked to you about it, and I actually.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Loved him in that.
There we go. Now we can have fun.
I tell you, that was a obviously I'm playing Ian Fleming and Dad played James Bond, so Freud would have had a field day with that one. But I have to say I really enjoyed making that film. One, because I really liked the sort of, because it was slightly tongue in cheek. It had a sort of fantasy element to it, although a lot of the stuff that happens in the movie did indeed happen to Ian Fleming. But I just really enjoyed the cast as well. They were just, Patricia Hodge was lovely to work with, and Christian Scott Thomas, and I got Clive in, who played Little John, to be in it too. And there was some really, Colin Welland, Christian Scott Thomas. Anyway, just lovely. And so coming to work was such a joy because I knew that I was going to be fencing with someone who was going to be attacking me back. So there was or playing tennis, whatever you want to call it. Right. And that's always so exciting for an actor when you've got quality actors coming back at you.
Well, you had some heavy hitters. First of all, I have a man crush on two of the bigger guys in there, David Warner and Josh Auckland.
Oh yeah.
And the scene where you when Josh and you were just staring down at each other at the game, it's just like you could tell that there was more going on, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody. You can actually find the movie on YouTube. I watched the whole thing on YouTube.
It is because it was on VHS, and I think that someone put it on YouTube so people could watch it.
Yeah, Michaela found you on YouTube. I would say yeah, first of all, I have a box of tissues handy, but I thought it was brilliantly done, well acted. I loved your interpretation of Ian, who was just, to me, it was just perfect all around with Kristen and David. You know, having that character, having the militaristic character who kind of entrusts you with everything. Everybody's putting a risk into Ian to do the right thing, to get to win the war. And in the end, it, you know, as everything, and just like the actual James Bond character, he can't have a love at the end, it seems.
Yeah,
he can't.
He cries for that.
Yeah, anytime somebody gets close to his character, they pay the ultimate price.
So here's a sob story for you about me personally in that film. So I went to LA. And it was one of the first times I'd been as a professional actor to promote the film, and it was Turner Network that was made the film, and they picked me up in a limousine, and they said, we're going to show you something, and they drove me up Sunset Boulevard, and there was an 80-foot billboard of my face. And I was just like, oh my God, that's right. And they said, if you go into that hotel and you get on the roof, you can stand by your own eye and we'll take a picture of you. So I'm like, oh, really? And this is before camera phones and everything. So I get up there, I take the photo, and I've got this picture of me. They took about 10 pictures on my camera of me standing next to my own eye, and it's 80 foot high on Sunset Boulevard, right?
Yeah.
So I leave LA and I go to France to visit my stepsister, and I drop off the film to the French processor, and I go in to collect it, and the guy goes, oh, monsieur, I'm so sorry, we had a problem with the machine. You know, there was a power failure, and all the film was ruined. But don't worry, we're going to give you a free film.
Are you kidding me?
So I have no copy of that. There's nobody's. I mean, it's gone, and I you know, don't know that I'll ever have an 80-foot billboard on Sunset ever again. So that's my sob story about it.
I think you will, and when that happens, I think you will. So, especially if Tommy, you should have a billboard. And not only that, you should put your hand up your nostril. I think that should be. That should be the next shot. Exactly. What's in there?
I have another Tommy's honor question. Because, yes, if you don't mind. So when I said I didn't know anything about this film, I didn't know that it was a biography. Oh. I didn't know until it started. The screen went black, and I'm like, "What do you mean he died? He succumbed to hypothermia?" And it goes black, and then it starts saying, "What happened?" I'm like, "This." I started screaming that it's a biography to my husband. My husband's like, "What? That's what you're watching?" I'm like, "Yeah." So now knowing that you base this off the two lives, was there anything that you shot, and that, because I know that you have to take liberties when you're trying to build a cohesive story, and sometimes you might have to either drop things out or add things in. Is there anything that you had to drop out that you kind of wished that you just couldn't film? Or
no, I did film it. There's a couple of scenes. I mean, I love editing because I truly believe that the nuance of the film, you have to hone and hone and hone and hone so you can get those. And, the stuff that you were talking about with the close-up, I watch a lot of period movies, and I felt like there's a tendency with period to stay back to show the period. And I said, I want to shoot it. I said, I don't want that. I want to shoot it like a modern film whereby you're coming in on people's faces. And yes, it's period, but that's a given. We're not going, oh, look, here's a, so, okay. So and I also think it was it's better for the intimacy of the story, but in the edit, you hone and hone and hone, and there's always a scene that you love, and it's there and it's there and it's there and it's there. And you think that scene's always going to be there. And then it gets you to a place where all the other scenes work, and then you realize you don't need it. And so there's a moment, and we shot it, and it's actually a true story because it was written that this is what happened, is that when Tommy was dying, not when he was dying, but when he went through his sort of alcoholic stage, before he played in the snow, all of the caddies, it was the first day he played for 3 days. So it was the first day he played and he went home. All the caddies walked through the town singing, and they sang under his window to lift his spirits. Yeah. And we shot this scene, and it's very moving. But the thing is, I had a scene where he chops the tree down. I had a scene where he was lying there. I had a scene, and I couldn't have another scene where, because it felt as though you were too laboring that point. And I loved that scene, and it's beautiful, and it's very moving. And then there was also another scene where, when he first gets married, he carries Meg across the threshold of his house, of their house together, and I had to cut that out too.
That's in the featurette.
Yes, it is. So yeah, I mean, there's always stuff, but I also think that you've got to be able to tell a story in 2 hours or under 2 hours. I think that, I do think, there are films that are wonderful, that are 3 hours or 3, but I do think that I think that it is important to encapsulate the story, if you can, in 2 hours.
Well, I mean, honestly, as the marketing perspective of it for your audience, people look at the time now. That's one of those facets. Way back when, people didn't care how long they were going to sit in a theater. Now it's okay, so this is about an hour and a half. I have this much time. What is it? Yeah. It's like you have to kind of develop what you want to put on film and put out there to the metric of how many people can I reach and how many people. Yeah. Well,
and also even the cinemas, they wanted turnover as well.
Right.
So they're looking at, we're going to have to miss out a showing because your film's too long.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so the person's got to go in there, and how big a tub I got it for popcorn, and where's the bathroom? What's the closest bathroom? So it's just a different attitude as opposed to this was made 20 years ago.
Is it more difficult to market or to connect to cross-culturally with a period piece like this that has a very specific biopic to it? Yeah. Okay. I see the yes.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is that I was saying this to Christian earlier, that we had a producer who was one of these guys who, on one side, it was amazing. I mean, because he was like a dog with a bone. He wouldn't let it go. And he raised the money. And, a lot of golf movies don't make money, and so there's a lot of reticence. And so he was like a dog with a bone, but unfortunately that was what he was also like when it came to promoting the film. And he kept trying to make it a golf movie. And I kept saying, if you do this, look, the golf guys are going to come anyway. Let's talk about the love story. Let's talk about the family. Let's talk about the thing. And, unfortunately, he was like a dog with a bone on that one. And it was really hard because I think it didn't reach the audience that it could have reached had they been more, pushing more toward the idea that this isn't a film, where you're going to sit watching people play golf. I mean, there's 22 minutes of physical golf in the film.
Right. Very little. I think like you're saying, it's about an investment, and it took the investment. I didn't get it from the trailers until I was in the film.
Right.
Makes sense. And then I was like, wait, this is really.
Well, the thing is, I always tried to make the golf games about something other than the golf. Like it was about them vying against them, or this personal relationship, or the father, not ignoring his son, or joining his son, or, and so that it wasn't just about 2 people or 4 people playing golf. I mean, actually, some of the golf games and some of the things they did was quite extraordinary, because it was like that was the other thing, this whole thing of an audience sitting there politely clapping. These guys are gambling and fighting and smoking and drinking. And when they played that last game, 7,000 people walked out of their job and walked across the fields to go and watch these guys fight. Fight, play golf.
Anyway.
And
I loved how the rope came out.
Pardon?
I loved how the rope came out, where it kind of they were holding up.
Well, that's the first time. That's the first time that happened. And the quiver, originally it was called a golf quiver because he did in fact play golf against an archer. because they wanted to bet on anything. So anytime they could, they would bet on anything. And so they had an archer, and he was trying to get nearest the hole, and the golfer, and then everyone was betting on it. And he saw the quiver with the arrows in. And so he said, let's put the clubs in and we'll call it a golf quiver. And then it became a golf bag. And also the backspin thing is true as well.
Now, your dad introduced you to golf, but how did you pick it up? How did it become your passion, which translated into this movie?
Well, I mean, it's funny because in a way I am like the movie golf. I really enjoy golf, but because I think it's a bit like life. Like, I mean, I don't want to get overly esoteric, but you know, it's like, you know, you hit this great drive, it hits the head of a sprinkler and goes shooting off into the thing, and suddenly you've got no shot. Like life, you know, you're running along, everything's great, you have a car crash and you're in hospital for a year. You know, I mean, obviously hitting a ball into the bush is not quite like being in hospital for a year, but you see the analogy. But what I love about golf is more that I'm walking along, I'm you know, I'm trying to get the ball in the hole, but I've usually got friends that I'm playing with, and we're talking about stuff. And you know, I'm not one of those people who's like massively competitive. I mean, I've had stages like that, but I just really enjoy. I just enjoy the whole. And I did, you know, hang out with my dad. You know, my dad worked a lot when I was growing up, and I did get to hang out with him. You know, I caddied for him originally, and then I started playing, and you know, we'd hang out, and you get to talk about stuff, you know.
Yeah, I could not. I watched it on TV for a while, and I just can't seem to get into I'm horrible at mini golf. I think I'm banned at like 3 mini golf places. I can't. I mean, I literally go Adam Sandler. I thought the whole point is to hit the ball as hard as you can, get it out there. Hopefully, it hits a hole. And you know, people would walk around me, and I can say that Andrew Dice Clay joke. People are going around me, going like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, aren't I winning? You know, it's just like.
But the funny thing is, though, if you went out and actually hit a ball, and you hit the ball, you hit your first ball well, you suddenly go, oh, you know, and there is, and also I have to say, there are different. Like I play here in Scotland, and it's a very different setup. You know, to play golf in America is in most places anyway. I mean, there's municipal courts, but but to be a member somewhere is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You know, I pay like $1,000 to be a member for a full year at the club here. I would pay $1,000 a month to be a member at a golf club in America.
It's insane. It is so expensive to play, and when you go, you have to absorb yourself in the whole thing because you don't want to.
It's very alienating for people, you know. It doesn't feel. I mean, I don't want to slag off. I'm not trying to say that you know, British golf is better than. It's just that there's you know, I think it should be a game that should be available to everyone, and that's certainly how the Morrises felt.
It's beautiful. I mean, I'm terrible at it. And the thing is, everybody's terrible at it because you can have being, oh my God, that hole was great, put me on the PGA, and the next hole you're like, what the hell? And my cards are cursed, you know.
This is where it happens or doesn't happen. It's nothing to do with the physical mechanics.
Oh, it's the wind, it's the grass.
Oh yeah, well, there's that too. Yeah, there's always an excuse.
No, it's my stance. I think my company actually took us out to there's actually these virtual golf ranges now. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard of these. Yeah, I got to do this virtual golf range thanks to my company. And I'm like, I don't play golf. I don't swing. And there's a guy who was just walking by and goes, put your ass back a little further. I'm like, what? I'm like, are you just, and before I know it, I'm just like, I'm just like, I can't even stand up. I'm like, I'm supposed to hit now swing. I'm like, you know, it's like my body doesn't do that. I don't know how anybody else's body, but it's just like I can't do it.
That was interesting too. There was the guy who is he's the honorary head professional at the RNA, and he taught Peter Mullen, who'd never swung a club in his life, and also young Jack. And they practiced and practiced, and he gave them you know, a swing. And he basically said to them, look, how would you swing this if you were going to try and hit this ball? And you know, they did whatever they did, and then he built from that. And so it felt natural to them. Instead of saying, move your arm here, put that over there, and then you end up like Quasimodo going, you know, this. So he was great. And I have to say, both of them really enjoyed, you know, learning the process. And I mean, especially Jack, young Tommy, he could hit those. I mean, they're really hard to hit. He could hit them about 200 yards by the end, and also he would fight to. I mean, I said, look, I can make the ball look as though it goes in the hole, you know, Jack. You don't have to. And he, you know, there was one day where he was so insistent on doing it that I left him there with the cameraman, and we all went to lunch, and he was just putting and putting and putting, and finally got it, and there was nobody watching.
When he was learning how to get his swing, was he using that old style of golf ball too? Because I noticed that they have like the little, since they were all handmade, they had like a straight.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. He would be hitting an older ball, but not the gutta percha. Because honestly, to hit a gutta percha, if you hit more than about 5, because it's literally like hitting a rock. Because they're, especially if it's cold. In fact, in the game, I don't know if you remember, in the snow game, the ball breaks in half, and that used to happen all the time when it was really cold, and that's why they played with the red ball, because if it was white, obviously you wouldn't see it in the snow.
And I have a question, because our friends who are at Krypton Radio, I saw them post an article. That's I think that's when we started talking again, because you became the head of a new Scottish film studio.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. I forgot to mention. I was like,
well, no, I gave you a world exclusive.
That's right. That's right. I'm sorry.
No, it's.
You were talking about the building, yeah.
It is very, very, very exciting. It's huge, and we're in the early stages in the sense of soundproofing and everything. But you know, there are people wanting to come in and shoot there, and it's 170,000 square feet. So you know, as I say, it's 100-foot ceiling. So it's an amazing building. And I think you know, the thing about Scotland is, as you saw in the film, there's this extraordinary vistas and beautiful. And I didn't want to do the sort of heather blowing in the wind and the bagpipes and all that. If you notice, there's no bagpipes in the movie, and there's no sort of heather shots and the beauty shots. But the thing is that people come and shoot in Scotland, and then there's no facilities for them to do all their interiors, and so they go to Ireland, or they go to Romania or Eastern Bloc or wherever, France, you know. So this studio will keep them here, so they'll shoot all these wonderful, and then do their interior work, which will be wonderful for the business here, of course. So yeah. I'm hoping that all comes together.
Oh, that's awesome. There. We're gonna go. We got a few minutes left. We're Jason, I know you need to go to bed. It's almost 12:30 over there, but it's
is it? Wow.
Yeah, it's almost midnight. We really having that much of a good time. Huh?
We've just got a new puppy, so I'll be getting up at about 4 o'clock anyway.
Oh, okay.
Can I jump in and ask about pandemic?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I absolutely hate horror movies. I'm gonna lead out with that.
Okay.
Literally probably one of only 3 horror movies I've ever been able to watch. Ever. Enough that I actually still remember it. So when I realized it was you who had directed it, I was like, oh my God. Okay, because you actually completely opened up. Aside from Blair Witch, this decision to go with the you know, the bird's eye view perspective. What? Yeah. Why? I love it, by the way. That's actually what made it palatable for me. Even if
the thing about that we shot. I mean, when we shot Tommy's Honor, I think we had 6 weeks shoot, whereas we shot Pandemic in 12 days. So, and we had no budget. So there was and it was my first film, and there was you know, what's going on there? Is Christian going to bed?
I guess he's done.
He's done.
And he just knocked over the
The
shower.
TARDIS just fell over.
Oh God.
Anyway, so it was one of those things where, I mean, that film, I went to a butcher and bought a pig's heart and a liver and a lung, and I shot it myself with the editor, and we edited it into the movie, and we begged, borrowed, and stole, and just to get it done, because I was determined to get my first feature done, because I was so sick of hearing people go, well, you've never done a feature before. So I just, and there's some of that I look at and go, oh God, yeah. But, we just didn't have the time or the budget, and we just did what we could. And that's the thing. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to make low budget movies, because you have to come up with a solution, and the solution is never money.
No.
Whereas when you have a big budget movie, the solution is very often money. So
everything's money. Yeah.
Do you ever go back to thinking about how you shot that in 12 days? And because there's a love-hate relationship with that in terms of the genre, right? I mean, some fans just absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And then others
I mean, I think horror fans are very, very, they're very loyal. I mean, but when they don't like something, boy, they can be harsh.
Yes. And that's the great thing with horror, is that you don't need to have the named actor, really. Horror fans love the genre.
Yeah.
Period. So it's actually a very good genre, I guess, to be able to make stuff on a low budget, because you really don't need to go crazy. You can put it right onto literally VHS. There is a genre of horror fans that want stuff on VHS. There is.
I did a film for Sci-Fi. I directed a film for Sci-Fi about Area 51. And it's just called 51, and we shot that in 15 days. And I have to say, we had a great time. And basically, with that kind of budget, I just said, we need to find a great building, and we're going to use all these different parts of the building to suggest that you're on different layers, that you go into Area 51 and then you go down 8 floors. And so it was one building, but each time we went to a different floor, we just redid all the numbers on the thing. And the elevator wasn't even an elevator. It was a guy doing, with 2 things. And then we had a guy with a wheel turning it as though you were going down underground, going vroom, vroom, vroom. And everybody, I mean, but and the 2 monsters in it. I mean, it's great fun. I have to say, it's not that scary. So Nisha, you'll be all right. There is a bit of blood, but it's great fun. And it was a disused mattress factory that we found in Baton Rouge. And we shot, and all the money went on the screen, because we didn't have, we didn't have to. We had the caterers sitting there, and there was no transpo, because we're on one set for the whole movie. But you'd never know that. I did do some cutaways as though you're driving through the desert and stuff to get to Area 51.
Okay.
But the fun part about that movie is that it's not your typical, like, the horror movie. It's like, oh, zombies and stuff like that. I would say it slides, maybe if I'm wrong about saying this, it slides more psychological, because it does become like the mystery of, like, what if?
Yeah.
And then once you think that there is a road that makes sense, all of a sudden you throw in this monkey wrench, and there's another road of possibilities. So it's like, okay, so what is really going on over here? And then there at the one point, don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but you definitely check it out. If you don't know what's going on, you're just kind of lost. And that's the way it's supposed to be, because you don't know whether to believe what's going on. Oh, we lost Alicia. Yeah, she said her laptop's dying. But you don't know what's going on. So if you get a chance, Pandemic, I think it was 2006, right? 2006?
Pandemic. Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, no. You can maybe look.
I have a production question.
2009.
I have a production question for Jason.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make this the last question, because we're going to wrap up, and then we're going to go.
Okay. So in Florida, everybody's going to Georgia because of the tax relief, and Georgia's the big place to be filming at.
Yeah.
Scotland, because you have your studios there now. How is it if you find a film?
Yeah, Scotland. You've got Screen Scotland, you've got Creative Scotland, and they can all give you. They've got incentives, but they've also got money that they can help depending on what criteria you fit. Then you've got 20% off for VAT. So VAT is value added tax. So you basically you get 20% back on whatever you spend. So there is some incentive there. I mean, a lot of the incentive in Europe is similar because they all agreed, but then there's local stuff that the local government and the British there's the British government, and then there's the Scottish government, and so there are, yeah, you can get things. Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and shut off the broadcast, guys. We'll just do a quick wrap up, but everybody wave goodbye. To everybody who's still watching, thank you guys for joining us on the live feed. The audio version will be coming out shortly. We're just going to end the broadcast right now, but thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next time. And